Chapter 5. Armando halted his gelding to view the valley of La Flor breaking forth in green and bright colours. He loved this time of the year when the cold of winter was forgotten in anticipation of new life. He sensed a strange peacefulness. This seldom happened in his tumultuous life, and he took note for those times when the pressure of his leadership left him restless and unsure of his decisions. La Flor stretched out in small thatch roof huts. Beyond the village, sheep, cattle, donkeys, and a few horses grazed. Lush fields ripe with newly planted corn, beans, squash, tomatoes, and peppers ensured the people of plenty now and provisions for next winter. He longed for the laughing children, crowing roosters, and barking dogs. He envisioned women grinding corn for tortillas and pretty senoras seeking reason to stroll near the centre of town. Old men recounted days of youth, while the young dreamed of heroic deeds. He inhaled the aroma of cooking pots filled with simmering chili peppers, and he drank in the delicate perfume drifting from the flowers growing around the huts. Here the water had a different taste, as though it held a magic potion for happiness, sweet like droplets of honey. Yes, La Flor was Armando's home. He had been born in the sleepy village, and he would most likely die defending it. Armando reached over to untie Marianne's bandana. She recoiled at his touch and lifted her chin in defiance. After blinking several times, she peered out at the enchanted scene. La Flor, a hint of recognition settled in her blue-grey eyes, but when he drew closer, her stallion leapt in protest. "Calm your steed." He gestured to show exactly what he intended, and she obeyed. The mere gentle words from her lips eased the stallion's anger. Armando stood in awe of this young woman. He studied her delicate features and looked to find fault in her appearance. She was exquisite, even with a smudge on her cheek and her tousled hair. The elegant pale green gown displayed patches of dirt, and the hem had frayed about the edges. Frustrated with his straying thoughts, he jerked his gelding down the winding path to the valley. There he would show his allegiance to the people and decide what to do with Philippe's rebellion and the fate of the senorita. Soon the shouts of the villagers rang about them, excited, cheering voices beckoning the heroes to enter and make merry. As the band entered the town, Armando waved and feigned a broad smile. He should feel victorious, but instead he faced the truth. He had handed them more trouble. Emilio rode up beside him. "They are happy to see us, my amigo." Armando nodded grimly. "They believe I wanted this kidnapping. Philippe had succeeded in manipulating me for now." All traces of joy vanished from the young man's round face. "I agree that Philippe has done a bad thing, but Dios is with you. I can feel it. The gringo will leave our village to us now that we have his daughter." Armando stared into his friend's face and noted Emilio's familiar seriousness. "I hope so, for if he refuses, I'm afraid I must kill her. No father would willingly have his daughter murdered." Emilio said, "When he returns to his hacienda, he'll gladly find other grazing pastures for his cattle far from us." Of course, if only he shared the same confidence as Emilia. "But we cannot keep her here. Tonight we celebrate. Tomorrow we must ride back to the campsite, for it is too dangerous to remain among our people. Senor Phillips could send spies to La Flor while awaiting her husband's arrival." "Who would dare spy on us?" Emilia's face reddened. "Surely not my brother Juan." Armando shook his head. "No, none would willingly, not one or the other working at the American's hacienda. Understand this, my friend. The gringo could threaten them with their families' lives, as we have done with his daughter, and something I'm sure Philip has not considered." Emilio set his jaw. "See," a vicious circle. After a moment's hesitation, he lifted his gaze to the cloudless sapphire heavens. "I pray we have Dios on our side." Armando chose not to expound on his disbelief in God. After all, the affairs of men were governed by flesh and blood, not an invincible spirit sought after by frightening men and fragile-minded women. Unfortunately, his mother, as much as he loved her, believed Dios watched over them all. She died not knowing he had renounced the faith of the Padre. The two men rode slightly on each side of Marianne, while laughter and cheer rippled behind and before them. "Where are you going to keep the senorita while we are here?" Emilio asked. Raising a brow, Armando glanced at his friend, but quickly discarded his distrust. He could trust Emilio with his life. "She will stay with me," he said a moment later, "and she'll not escape. Unless she gets to her devil's stallion before we can stop her." Emilia pointed back at Diablo. Armando chuckled. "I have no intention of letting Diablo carry her away. She will not be out of my sight. Do you think your tia and Tio will object to having her at their home probably, but I must keep the senorita with me. No harm can come to her unless I'm forced to do it myself. You speak wisely. I have heard some of the men talk, and his friend sighed and glanced at Marian. She is beautiful. Amado's thoughts had also been consumed with the beauty of the young woman when he wondered about the temptation of his men, something he'd never do nor allow to be done. We are above all men of honor, Amado said. If her father does not value his daughter, then circumstances may change. Listen to my words. None of you will have the blood guilt on your hands. It is not what I want. There has to be a better way. Amelia observed the girl between them. My brother thinks highly of her. The Senorita and Senor Phillips are the only reason Juan and Camila have remained at the Phillips hacienda and not joined us in La Flor. Why? Armando wondered why this information had not been passed on to him before now. Senor Philip is not a good husband or father. Amelia paused before continuing. I have ignored the fact since the kidnapping, but both women have been good to our people. Offered gifts of food and clothing in his absence. I know of the things the Philip women had done, good things, which caused me to regret Philip's impetuous action. The Senor had been ill for some time, and she asked my brother and his wife to look after the Senorita as a hater daughter, even to bring her here rather than to have her under the care of her father. The news of Juan and Camila caring for the Senorita frustrated Amado. The more he learned about the situation at the Phillips hacienda, the more he was determined to free the young woman. Armando had promised to keep the valley from Western Phillips, but if the man did not care for his daughter, her death would mean nothing. When did you learn of this? The last time my brother and I talked, I should have told you that this last evening. I too wanted this to be our opportunity to save our valley. Armando stared into the dark eyes of his friend. What is your allegiance? To you and you alone. Amelia replied without a trace of hesitation. I told my brother I must follow you. You know what is best for our people. Armando breathed an inward sigh of relief. After all, he needed his men's loyalty. Even death is necessary. Gracious. He glanced back at his captive. It made no difference if she were innocent of her father's greed. The mere colour of her skin and her name sealed her fate. Still, regret stabbed at her heart. Like himself, she suffered because of her padre. For a moment, Marianne wished she didn't understand Spanish. Ignorance of her dire situation could easily be interpreted as a blessing. The ways of men frightened her. Papa Clay, Philip, and Armando, except for one, dear Tio Juan. He endured Papa's ill moods and incessant demands because of Mama and her. She loved him and Camila. Sometimes she wished Mexican blood flowed through her veins. Too many times she felt responsible for the difficult plight of the Mexicans because of the colour of her skin. As the voices from the people rose and fell, dread swept over her. She recalled Armando's words that he planned to keep her with him, and he obviously lived with his relatives. Marianne desperately wanted her captor to have a wife and children. With a family, he had more to lose by killing her. Just when she felt a glimpse of hope, she plunged deeper into the nightmare. She sighed and held her head high. They rode to the centre of the village. Armando nodded to passers-by, but he didn't join in the gaiety. He reined in his horse in front of a small hut and dismounted. An elderly woman stood on her toes to embrace him. La Flor hero has returned. The woman touched his cheek. I prayed for your safe return. The most beautiful senora in all the valley. Armando lifted her off her feet. Nonsense, she appeared to scold. But Marianne saw the smile playing on her lips. Armando whispered something in the woman's ear. She scowled and wagged her finger at him. No, take your captives somewhere else. Her wrinkled mouth pierced to a bird-like beak. With the horses, perhaps? Armando laughed. No, Tia Rosa. I have to keep her with me. It's only until Manana when we move back into seclusion. That soon, all traces of agitation slipped from her leather face. Your tia Manuel and I look forward to your coming home. He took her veined hands into his. Just a few more days. This time next week we'll be rejoicing. I hope so. Violence frightens me. I am an old woman, and I want my husband, my home, my handsome nephew, and no worries about Senor Philip taking our valley. Patience, he said. I will not let my people lose their homes or their lives. Marianne studied the delicate carvings of Diablo's saddle as she listened to the conversation. The orange and yellow paint glistened in the sun. Oddly enough, she felt a strange kinship to those people. They wanted to keep their homes for their families. She wanted a family to make a home. As much as she hated Armando, she sympathized at least with his cause. Not enough to die for it, but enough to understand. The compassion she felt for the people of La Flor had not changed. Her confusion must come from exhaustion. How could she respect Armando and despise him in the same breath? Perhaps my mind will grow ill with this turmoil. Papa this could write this ugliness, but would he? Chapter 6. Manuel and Rose's gushers thatch hut reminded Marianne of the familiar surroundings of Juan and Carmita's home, but unlike the lively dwelling at the hacienda, which resounded in love and laughter and the antics of 6 children, these walls imprisoned Marianne. No warmth radiated from the meagre furnishings, even though when within this room sat the same simple pottery, and the smells of cooking wafted the air. In the corner were stacked red, blue, yellow, and orange blankets, and on a small table sat a crucifix, common in the homes of those practicing Catholicism. Marianne's gaze rested on the carving of Jesus on the cross, a reminder of the many times Mama had told her how he had died for her sins. One repeated the same story to his children with the same passionate love for the Lord. The crucifix caused her to ache for home and those she loved. Granted, these people's ways of worship was different, but they prayed to the same God and knew his Son. The quandary of God doctrine and the right way to worship were the Catholic opposite and had entered Marianne's thoughts on more than one occasion. How did God decide whose prayers to answer? God had spoken to her heart 2 separate times since the kidnapping, assured her of his presence and his peace. Surely he did care for all his children. Marianne twisted against the leather knots binding her hands. Her shoulders ached, but not her wrists. When Rosa complained about being alone with Senor Philip's daughter, while Armando and Manuel talked with the men of the village, Armando had pushed Marianne into a chair and tied her to the wooden back. Now her shoulders ached from the awkward position, but he had not bound her too tightly. Odd how some concessions became small miracles. Hunger had given her a headache. Typically, people ate in the hottest part of the afternoon, and today would be no exception. She smelled vegetable and chicken stewed together, and her stomach growled. Armando gave her a cool cup of water before Emmanuel had left, but the drink did not satisfy the empty space inside her or the fear. Rosa waved a wooden spoon in front of Marianne's face. "Are you hungry, senorita? I'll let you eat after we have finished." The old woman tilted her silver head and studied her. "You're young, perhaps too young to be part of such evil." Marianne wanted to talk to Rosa, tell her she hoped the villagers were able to remain in the valley, but she dared not. What good would it do to sympathize with the peasants of La Flor if her knowledge of their language got her killed? With a heavy sigh, Marianne gazed into the deep brown pools of Rosa Garcia's eyes, a reflection of Armando. The old woman wobbled closer to her and bent down to peer into Marianne's face. "You are frightened." "I too, senorita. We women suffer much for the affairs of our men." With those words, she returned to her stew, muttering complaints about the Spanish rule, Western Philip, and the hard peasant life. Observing Rosa helped to occupy Marianne's weary, anxious mind, and the worry surrounding the next minute, an hour, or day temporarily subsided. Rosa reminded Marianne of a mother hen, fussing over this and that. Her body toddled back and forth when she walked, as though her legs might give way. If Marianne were not a captive, the entire scene would have been amusing. When Armando and Manuel finally returned, they were in high spirits. They talked of music and singing that evening and took turns pulling Rosa into their arms for an imaginary dance, celebrating a victory that will never be theirs. "I wish they did hold some power over Papa. Then I might be able to dwell on freedom from this. I'm so grateful that Mama is not in my place." While they ate, Armando fixed his gaze directly at Marianne, but he refrained from any comments. "She's hungry," Rosa said. "Untie her so she can have something to eat." Armando pressed his lips together, visibly annoyed at his tia's suggestion. He stood and untied the leather straps behind him. "Remember where you are." How strange his words were, as if he knew she understood what he was saying. "Does she speak our language?" Manuel asked. His lean, narrow face held fewer lines than Rosa's, but his shoulders stooped as though he had given up holding on to his youth. "No, Tia. She has expressed her anger more than once, and has always spoken in English." He dragged the chair to the table and motioned for her to sit. Once seated, she watched Rosa fill a warm tortilla with the chicken and vegetables. She laid it in a chip bowl and placed it before Marianne. "Gracias," Marianne said. "Well, at least the senor knows her manners," Rosa said. Since the men had returned, her anonymity towards Marianne had resurfaced. Marianne kept her focus on the bowl before her. The food tasted wonderful with the blend of spices she'd grown to love. She chewed slowly, savouring every bite. As it disappeared, she noticed the chip in the pot had formed a jagged cracked line all the way to the other side. Broken but still usable, she felt the same way. Armando set a cup of water before her, and it too refreshed her. "Gracias." Armando chuckled. This is the second kind word I've heard from her. Manuel joined in the mirth. What did you expect her as her captor? He picked up a knife and studied it closely. Given the chance, she might try to use this on you. Be careful that she doesn't use kindness as a means to escape. Marianne felt her eyes upon her, and her cheeks warmed. They viewed her with such curiosity. Perhaps in better circumstances they might have been friends. With the meal complete, Armando wasted no time in tying Marianne to the chair once again. Her shoulder muscles hurt the moment he wrapped the bindings around her wrists, pulling the rope tighter than before. Fighting the tears surrounding to betray her, she fixed her gaze on the earthen floor. But Armando must have sensed the suppressed emotion, for he cupped her chin and met her gaze. Such a pretty senorita should not be so unhappy. He hesitated and loosened her wrist as he done the previous evening. Marianne didn't want his pity, and she battled the urge to spit into his face. Let him charm the senior with his dashing looks, but to her he resembled Satan. I see the anger in your eyes, stormy with the flashes of lightning. O Ramlampago, such like your father, much like your father, such unfairness for the innocent. His voice softened. I regret the unpleasantness between us. You are a precious gem, and I hope for your sake Senor Philip yields to our demands. It is good you do not comprehend my words. A few hours later, when the sun had dipped behind the hills, Rose, Manuel, and Armando made ready for the village celebration. Armando had stepped behind a partitioned corner of the hut and changed into a clean white shirt and black calzoneras fitted trousers that were wide-legged at the bottom when left unbuttoned. He stepped from the partition and snatched up a bright red sash and tied it around his slender waist before donning a short black jacket trimmed in blue and red. The jacket's delicate needlework across the black and silver studded down the front distinguished him as a vaquero. Armando was handsome, yet Marianne believed his heart to be as black as a crow's feather. After all, he allowed Philip to dictate her demise. The great Armando, the great coward, he proclaimed himself a leader, but he didn't have the courage to set her free when he believed her kidnapping was wrong. And what of her? Manuel nodded his white beard towards Marianne. Shall we leave the cortivo here? She shall go with us and stay within my eyesight. And how will you dance? A bit of lustre sparkled in Manuel's brown eyes. Rose offered a new toothless smile. The senorita will be disappointed. So many are vying for your attention. Amada placed a quick kiss upon his tearless cheeks and picked up a black sombrero trimmed in bright purple braid. Next week I will join the merriment. Tonight is for me to relax and enjoy. He pointed to Marianne. I already have a pretty senorita to keep me company. You could untie these wretched ropes. A wayward lock of her hair fell into her forehead, and Marianne shook her head to drive it away. Utterly miserable, she wished for a basin of water to wash her face and a brush to smooth the tangled masses of hair. Catching sight of her sword dress, she surmised that Cream's frock was also in order. Most of all, she decided to flee from this place and its stench of impending death. She feared the morrow and the next, while these people anticipated music and merrymaking. Oh God, my strength is waning, and I need to break down and cry until there are no more tears. If I have placed all of my faith and trust in you, then why am I tormented and afraid? And immediately she regretted her impetuous words. Please forgive me, Father. I know you are here. Armando untied her to walk with him to the centre of the village. His aunt and uncle had gone on ahead, leaving them alone in the twilight. Marianne wished the walk took them past the Coral and Diablo, but the lively sounds came from the opposite direction. The throng of high-spirit people and singing guitars seemed to beckon Armando, for he urged her to walk briskly. This is my honour to celebrate your captivity. She detected a note of melancholy. I wish another led this poor band of farmers instead of me. The responsibility and the weight of my people's expectation burdened my waking and sleeping hours. He turned to her in the shadows and glimmers of a smile tugged at his lips. When you are gone, to whom will I pour out my heart? I will miss your quiet yet comforting spirit. Marianne kept her gaze straight ahead. She dug her fingers into her palms to keep from screaming at him. She was not his amiga friend. He held the power to set her free, and her destiny lay in his hands. How could he speak as though he had no choice? My people, he said, mean more to me than my life. But shedding innocent blood is not the answer, not their blood or yours. Her heart pounded against her chest. A few times before he had relayed regret, but now she heard remorse. She already knew he wasn't assured of the wisdom in her kidnapping. Now he had confirmed that he thought it foolish, even a mistake perhaps. Armando Garcia did not take this position lightly. His people and their welfare were his lifeblood. This revelation startled her, and Marianne wondered if she must reconsider her evaluation of him. She feared what it might mean to be held hostage by a man that she might learn to respect. A vivacious young woman lifted her bright green skirts and raced towards Armando. Her large brown eyes, veiled with long black lashes, sparkled at the sight of him. Armando, would you dance with me? Her full lips pursed into a smile. Por favor, please, I have turned down the others while waiting for you. Armando shook his head. No, Isabel, I have only come to watch the festivities tonight. My joy is to see my people happy. Isabel tilted her head and pouted prettily. Such sacrifice, I said. I am one of your people, too, por favor. A single dance to begin the celebration. He gathered her slender hand into his. If I choose to dance this evening, I will look for you. He winked at her. Perhaps you will be in the arms of another vaquero by then. Never, I shall wait for you. She glanced at Marianne. Her eyes changed from glimmering jewels to daggers. Tell me, is this Senor Philip's daughter? Si, she is our gold. Armando stared, fixed on the young Mexican woman's flushed face. When this is all over and we have no need to worry about Lafleur, will you find time for me? Isabel asked. We shall see. No one knows what tomorrow will bring. He brought her hands to his lips. Isabel, you could dance for me. No other senora can make her body fall to a guitar like you. Isabella laughed. She flung her arms around his neck and kissed his cheek. I would dance with eyes only for our hero Armando. Swinging away from him, she rushed to the man strumming a guitar. Armando hooked his arm into Marianne's and pulled her to a spot away from the circle of others. I won't tie your hands, he chuckled, unless you try to fight me. Pretending indifference to his warning, the only way she knew how to exhibit her rebellion, Marianne studied the fire. The clamour of music and laughter from the others prompted her attention to Isabella, who circled the fire and twirled her skirt in a perfect rhythm to the guitar. As she had promised, her gaze captured Armando's, leaving no mistake as to her thoughts. The strum of the strings quickened, and the dancer hastened her pace, faster, even faster. Her body moved gracefully like the leaf line of a young tree. Raven hair ripped across her face and cast a seductive aura above the cheering crowd. The excitement that erupted moments before suddenly hushed to a breathless lull. Spellbound, the onlookers fell under the hypnotic trance until Isabella collapsed in front of Armando at the last note. Silence continued over the crowd, as though the passion in every man must quiet. Ceremoniously, Armando rose to his feet and applauded. He stepped to take Isabella by the hand and helped the breathless young woman to her feet. Others joined in the clapping, severing the dancer's bewitchment. Well done, Armando said. Who shall take the beautiful Isabella for a cool drink? Glancing about, he pointed to his men gathering near the guitar player. Emilio, Isabel needs a handsome man to attend to her. Emilio emerged wearing a wide grin. He offered the young woman his arm and led her through the crowd. Armando moved closer to the fire. He appeared to struggle with the right words, as though this was not the time or place to challenge Philippe. While I have your attention, I want to say how proud I am of my men's loyalty. The crowd roared with enthusiasm. When they quieted, he continued. He looked at his men, gripped together, all but Emilio. Each time Senor Philip and his foreman order us from our valley, you stand behind me and act bravely. No general could ask for more. I wanted to thank you. The danger is not over yet, but soon we will rejoice that Lafleur is still our valley. Show these valiante men the praise they deserve. When the cheers subsided, Armando waved to them all. El Dios bless Armando, someone in the crowd said. Another repeated the cry. Soon shouts rang over the village, resounding like mission bells. El Dios bendice Armando. God bless Armando. Miriam shivered. Please, Lord, must I die for this cause? Thanks for listening.